We'll be interviews tomorrow for the county attorney assistant position. 3 really good candidates.
Wonderful. That's awesome. It's nice to hear.
John, how come
And
Tara
Dave,
talks to our executive? She
Dave,
can't even get that.
Dave.
I don't know, Dina come.
we're recording.
Are we?
Me?
Mine won't go.
Remember.
Talking to her one time. She said, Mark.
It's 9 o'clock. Are we ready to rock and roll?
Back it back.
Hey. You guys ready? Good morning, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. Please have everyone stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Correct myself a little bit. We'll do a roll call here too. We have all commissioners present along with representation from the attorney's office and the auditor, treasurer, and the coordinator. Amendments to the agenda.
Mr. Chair, we have a amendment request for item 4.5, the approval, appoint a part-time intermittent home health aide homemaker to have that removed, and also a request to remove 8.5.
Okay, so we'll have the removal of 4.5 and 8.5 on the agenda as presented. I would look for a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Opposed, carried. Consent items.
Consent items today, we have our meeting minute approval for April 5th, 2022. Approval to hire part-time Public Works summer help Travis Mahler. Approval to hire Public Works summer help Jaden Evenson. Hiring of Suzanne Bertstrand, P and Z specialist, and resignation of Assistant County Attorney Heidi Schultz.
Okay, you've heard the consent items as presented. Is there a motion to approve?
So second.
Motion by Newman, second by Kneisel. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right.
Opposed, carried. Auditor treasurer.
The first item I have today is the commissioner warrants. Just one moment. Commissioner warrants. You had them back to back, sorry. Approving the commissioner warrants, background is sent for review. This is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $81,188.35.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the commissioner warrants totaling amount $81,188.35. Looking for a motion to, looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Becker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel, roll call.
Commissioner Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson.
Yes.
The next item I have then is the Health and Human Services Commissioner warrants, background is sent for review. The recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $147,150.21.
Okay, you've seen the board action in regards to the Health and Human Services warrants totaling the amount $147,150.21. Is there a motion to approve?
So,
Motion by Newman, second by Kircher.
yes. Yes.
Discussion? Roll call?
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher,
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson.
Yes.
The next item that I have today is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for review. The recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $97,451.08.
Okay, you've heard the board action for the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants totaling the amount of $97,541.08. Looking for a motion to approve.
So.
Motion by Kneisel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker, discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Kneisel,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker. Yes. Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item I have then is adoption of the 2022 Todd County Commissioner District Redistricting Resolution. Background is Minnesota Statute, Chapter 375 establishes the procedure for redistricting county commissioner districts following the federal census. Official publication was executed for the April 5th, 2022 public hearing held to consider plans for redistricting of the Todd County Commissioners District to allow for public input regarding proposed plans prior to the adoption. The Todd County Auditor Treasurer had prepared and attached a resolution reaffirming the existing Todd County Commissioner District composition for the 2022 election cycle forward to comply with the April 26, 2022 statutory deadline for adoption. Your options are to adopt the attached resolution as presented, do not adopt the attached resolution, to adopt the attached resolution with different district compositions or proposals. The recommendation then is to approve the resolution for adoption of the 2022 Todd County Commissioner Districts as presented.
You've seen the board action in regards to adopting the resolution, reaffirming the existing Todd County Commissioner districts. When you make the motion, make it with the choice of your motion there.
Move to adopt the current
Okay,
zones for.
we have a
districts.
motion by Kircher to adopt the current districts. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, carried.
The next item I have then is the adjacent owner sale. A little background here, Grandma Country Cafe in the city of Hewitt, tax forfeited to the state of Minnesota, July of 2021. In the last couple of weeks, a water main had bursted in the building causing damage. The adjacent owner, Jeffrey Ware, would like to purchase this property. His plan is to take the building down. It is our recommendation to sell the parcel to Jeffrey Ware at the price of $1,000 plus fees. The terms and conditions will apply to the sale, just like all other tax forfeited sales. One item added to the term is that the building must be taken down within 2 years.
Okay, you've seen the board action in regards to the adjacent owner sale for the property as shown. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
The last item I have then today is a closed private tax forfeited land sale. The background, there was a discrepancy on two parcels that were included on the April 8th, 2022 auction listing. The sales of the two parcels in question were null and void due to a misrepresentation of the properties. The recommendation is to redo the auction with the two parcels and allow the three bidders that were at the auction on April 8th, 2022, the opportunity to bid on the two parcels with the correct information. This auction will have the same terms and conditions as the auction on April 8th, 2022. This auction will be held May 18th,
So moved.
Motion by Kircher, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman, discussion.
across from the library. It should be right there, I believe.
One has a building, one is empty, I believe.
Yeah, there was a parcel that forfeited that had investigated after the fact that the buildings were actually on the wrong parcel. And so, and talking with legal counsel from the county attorney's office, John said, yes, the proper way to handle this would be to null and void that auction bid and sale that happened on the 8th. We did not process any paperwork or process any of the filings, so we just null and voided the transaction. I contacted the three owners or the three people that were bidding that day and told them what had happened and that we would redo the sale with the correct information. And so that's what we're doing, and all three were notified, and so we're just asking for a sale.
Any other discussion? The motion by Kircher, seconded by Newman. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, carried. Hands of Hope. Good morning.
Really Cook.
You're gonna have to pull your mics in close. I think they're kind of far away.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Kimberly Cook from Hands of Hope.
I'm Connie Nelson from Hands of Hope.
National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Whereas the engaged people of Todd County can offer compassion, support, and understanding, and ultimately hope to crime victims and survivors. And whereas victims deserve access to justice, assistance, and support they need to rebuild their lives. And whereas every interaction between victims and survivors and those involved in their cases is an opportunity to build trust in systems and services and advance procedural justice. And whereas the rights of crime victims are protected when all participants in the criminal justice process, not only victims, are appropriately educated about victims' rights. And whereas advocacy by and for victims of crime is itself a form of seeking justice, no less than justice sought in the courts. And whereas Hands of Hope Resource Center is hereby dedicated to supporting victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building trust among our clients, collaborating with other service providers, and engaging our community in response efforts. Now therefore be it resolved, the Todd County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim the week of April 24th through the 30th, 2022 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Reaffirming Todd County's commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during National Crime Victims' Rights Week and throughout the year. And expressing our sincere gratitude and appreciation for those community members, victim service providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving our response to all victims of crime so that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace.
Okay, you've seen the resolution and the proclamation for proclaiming April 24th through the 30th as National Crime Victim Rights Week. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion?
Thank you for what you do, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
I've been on that committee for my whole time. I've been a commissioner 16 years now, and it's amazing the stuff that you guys do, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. You're
Aye.
fine. Opposed? Carried. You're fine.
Thank you.
Ditch Egg Inspector. Good morning.
I have one agenda item today. It's just to acknowledge receipt, County Ditch 33, hold harmless agreement for ditch maintenance. Recommendation, the Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following by motion. Acting as ditch authority, acknowledge receipt of a hold harmless agreement petition from Chad Basil to clean part of County Ditch 33 on parcel 2000357000 Reynolds Township, section 32.
Okay, you've seen the board action in regards to the hold harmless agreement for Chad Basil and Ditch 33. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second? Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Planning and zoning. Morning, Adam.
Morning. First item this morning is the Luna Sioux Hideaway Final Plat. A subdivision request to establish a one-lot preliminary plat on parcel 15-004-0002 in Leslie Township was submitted on October 27th, 2021. The preliminary plat was approved on December 21st, 2020. That should say 2021. By the Board of Commissioners with the following conditions. Number one, that new accesses must be approved by the township, and two, that the developer and future property owners must obtain appropriate permitting when necessary from other governmental agencies, including but not limited to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and the Sauk River Watershed District. Planning and zoning has completed the review of this plat and determined it is ready for final platting. So the option would be approve the final plat as presented or deny the final plat, and the recommendation would be approval of the final plat to establish Luna Sioux Hideaway.
You've seen the board action for the Luna Sioux Hideaway final plat. Looking for a motion to approve. Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Adam, I'd like to see the township get approval, or give approval before it goes or comes to this board. Because what if they say no? We approved it and the township says no. Then what do we do?
To the driveway accesses or to,
Well, they're the road authority,
right?
and if they have any concerns about where the approaches are located,
Right.
size of culvert and all that stuff, so.
Yep.
According to our subdivision ordinance, the developer is supposed to meet with the township board
Mhm.
to get their approval, or at least inform them of their intent.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that that starts getting followed.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the next, the Lakeside Acres Second Edition Final Plat. A subdivision request to establish a three-lot preliminary plat on parcel 15-004-0001 in Leslie Township was submitted on October 27th, 2021. And the preliminary plat was approved on February 15th, 2022 by the Board of Commissioners with the following conditions. That all accesses must be approved by the township and shall only be connected to Fern Drive. And two, the developer and future property owners must obtain appropriate permitting when necessary from other governmental agencies, including but not limited to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and the Sauk River Watershed District. Planning and zoning has completed review of this plat and determined that this is ready for final platting. The options are to approve the final plat as presented, deny the final plat. The recommendation at this time would be approval of the final plat to establish Lakeside Acre Second Edition.
Okay, you've seen the board action in regards to the Lakeside Acre Second Edition final plat. Looking for a motion to approve.
Move this one also.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion.
I have the same comments on this one.
Got it.
I've got a question though. When, on number 2, and I seen this on the last one too, it says developers and future property owners. Does that mean that this might be split again, or what does that mean?
No, so they might be adding driveways or doing any work that the developer would do before they
Yeah.
sell anything. So the developer may need to get permits from those other agencies. But even after the sale, when a future owner has it, if they're doing any driveways or construction and permits are needed from other agencies, they're still responsible for that even after it changes ownership.
Okay, my question is, future property owners, could they split that?
I'd have to go back and look, but I don't think this one has any more room left to do any more splitting. The lots are
Okay.
too small. If you tried to split any of them, it'd be under the ordinance standard.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the Canuck Farm Plat 2 preliminary plat, an application for subdivision to create two-lot plat on parcel 11-00-85500 Gray Eagle Township was submitted on March 15th, 2022. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the April 7th, 2022 meeting. And the final recommendation from the Planning Commission is to approve the preliminary plat with the following conditions. Number one, clean up of public nuisance items between lots 1 and 2 prior to final platting. And 2, that the applicant must abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards, including but not limited to the Sauk River Watershed District. The options would be approve the preliminary plat with those proposed conditions, deny the preliminary plat, or to remand it back to the Planning Commission. The recommendation would be a motion to approve the preliminary plat with the 2 conditions.
You've seen the board action in regards to the Knack Farm plat 2 preliminary plat. Looking for a motion to approve.
Mr. Chair, we have discussion, please.
Sure.
Adam, on this, clean up the public nuisance between 1 and 2. We're approving the final plot, but we're telling them to clean it up. What if they don't clean it up?
If they don't clean it up, it doesn't come back for final platting. So
Okay.
we'll go out.
So this is a
This is
preliminary.
This is
Okay.
preliminary only.
Okay,
Yes.
I thought
Yep.
this was the final. Okay.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I would look for a motion.
I'll move.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
All right, my last item is a request to rezone the northeast quarter of the northeast quarter, section 7 in Hartford Township. A request to rezone the northeast quarter of the northeast quarter, section 7 Hartford Township from AAF 1 to R2 was submitted on March 16th, 2022 by Michael Line. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the April 7th hearing, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the rezone with 2 conditions. That this, number one, the site is located in an agricultural area, and consequently, there will from time to time be the sights, sounds, and smells associated with the operation of farming. No lot owner shall bring action of law against a farming operation because of such farming activities, as long as such farming activity complies with state, federal, EPA, and Todd County ordinances. And second, that the driveway accesses require the approval of the road authority. The options would be to grant the rezone to R2 with the 2 conditions, deny the rezone or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation would be to grant the rezoning of parcel 12-000-7400 from AF1 to R2 with the 2 conditions.
Okay, you've seen the board action and in the request to rezone the parcel as listed. Looking for a motion to approve.
Our first item on the agenda this morning for Public Works is a request to set a public hearing date for the local option sales tax. I'll begin by reading the background quickly here. 09/06/2014, the Todd County Board of Commissioners authorized by resolution a 0.5% transportation sales tax for implementation on January 1st of 2015. As per the authorization, all funds from this tax were collected or allocated to a list of specific projects, which at this time have nearly all been completed and or constructed. Therefore, at this time, the county board needs to conduct a public hearing to consider future options for this Todd County local option sales tax for transportation. Therefore, our 2 options at this time are to set a public hearing date to consider future options for the Todd County local option sales tax to be on June 21st, 2022 at 10 a.m. during the regularly scheduled Todd County Board of Commissioners meeting, or do not set a public hearing at this time. Our recommendation at this time is to set a public hearing date to consider options for the Todd County local option sales tax to be on June 21st, 2022 at 10 a.m. during the regular scheduled Todd County Board of Commissioner meeting.
Right, you've seen the board action in regards to the local option sales tax public hearing date. I would look for a motion.
I'll
with the-
make a motion to set that meeting for April 19th.
Okay, we have a motion by Becker to set that for the hearing date on 6/21/2022. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
So our next item on the agenda is a request for approval of a construction contract for a 2022 Highway Safety Improvement Project pavement striping project. This is the contract for ground and wet reflective striping on various roads in Todd County, known as SP 077-070-015. Our options are to approve the attached resolution or do not approve the attached resolution. And a recommendation is to approve the attached resolution, recommending a construction contract to Warning Lights of Minneapolis, Minnesota, of $214,055.42.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the award of the construction contract for the grinding and striping contract. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. There's second.
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Lauren, typically, how long does this last, these in-ground,
Almost 10 years.
10 years?
Where a normal, what we call latex or paint lasts 2 to 3.
Okay.
So it's a very much better product.
I think there's safety, good safety feature. too.
Absolutely. So do we.
Were there other bids on it too, Lauren, and stuff?
We're there.
Did we get other bids?
Yeah, I think if we scroll down, the bids are listed in the resolution. So if we could scroll down. Just to the resolution. There we go. So we got 4 companies from the area, anywhere from 214,000 to 250. So I think our estimate was right at 212 or something. So the numbers are right there.
Right on the money.
Yep.
Good. Awesome. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Would you like me to just sit here for the next item, just in case? As it may pertain
Sure,
to the
sure.
Public Works? All right.
Yep. County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an action to clean up a potential cloud on title for a small triangular parcel, a fraction of an acre in size. If we put it up on the screen, the folks can see what exactly we're talking about. It's the area, it's circled in blue there, that small triangle. This was a part of the original County Road 5 right-of-way plan, but as long as it's been abandoned in the southwest corner of this quarter. The $100 consideration being paid by Central Specialties to acquire this parcel from Todd County via quitclaim deed is a fraction of what it would cost to survey and convey this abandoned small triangle. The options are to approve the resolution for the quitclaim deed between Central Specialties and Todd County, or do not approve. The recommendation is Todd County Board of Commissioners approve by the following motion: approve the resolution for quitclaim deed between Central Specialties and Todd County.
Okay, you've seen the board action and the resolution to the quitclaim deed between Central Specialties and Todd County. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second? Second by Newman. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Lauren. Standing reports, auditor treasurer.
Just want to make mention that I will be out of the office starting this afternoon. Jolene and I will be attending an election conference, and we will be getting our training to be certified election trainers to train our judges in Todd County. So this is a standing conference that we go to each election cycle. So just wanted to let the board be aware of that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner reports. Anyone?
Well, I was able to attend the annual weed meeting for the townships last week. Nancy did an excellent job again.
Awesome. Anybody else?
Is there an annual township meeting coming up? When is
April
that?
21st.
Okay.
Coordinators report.
The only thing that I have to report, Mr. Chair, is the annual township meeting that will be held on April 21st, this Thursday at 5:30 at the Clarissa Ballroom.
Okay.
And I do have one additional item, if I could, Mr. Chair. At the last board meeting, we wanted to just take a moment to recognize Heidi Schultz And she was not able to be present at that, but Assistant County Attorney John Lindeman does have a statement that he'd like to read on behalf of Heidi.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to take a moment to thank you on the record for the opportunity to work for Todd County for the past 40 months. It has been a blessing to serve the citizens of Todd County with your support during these difficult times. We have overcome a great deal in our little county. We should be proud of our work in getting through the pandemic together. It has been an honor to work with this team of brave and smart employees from every department, working for the benefit of the people of Todd County. You should be especially proud of the team that you have working for you in the Todd County Attorney's Office. They are some of the most wonderful and hardworking professionals I know. It has been a joy to work with them. I will be forever grateful for my time served as an Assistant Todd County Attorney. Thank you again. I wish you all the best. Respectfully, Judge-elect Heidi E. Schultz.
Very nice. And again, thank you to Heidi for her years of service here. And with that, I would look for a motion to adjourn for the month of April. Motion by Kircher. Is there a second? Second by Newman. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, carried. We will be starting our work session for the Todd County Commissioners. And first off, I think we'll just go down the row here and do introductions so that everybody knows who's here and who will be participating in today's work session. I'll start with you.
Gary Knizel, District 2 Commissioner.
Randy Newman, District 5 Commissioner.
Rod Erickson, District 3 Commissioner.
Barb Becker, District 1 Commissioner.
John Lindeman, Assistant Todd County Attorney.
Denise Guida, Todd County Auditor Treasurer.
Chris Pelzer, County Coordinator.
Chris Adden, County Assessor.
Stephen Herney, Department of Revenue.
Okay, we'll try to speak as loudly as we can and try to make it as clear as we can or make it come through as best as we can. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Chris Pelzer for some meeting protocols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would also just like to ask at this time, we do have our 2 representatives on over Zoom. So I would ask that Representative Poston and Representative Kresha, maybe Poston first, just announce yourself.
Good morning. Thank you, Chris. State Representative John Poston. I represent part of Todd County, part of Cass County, and Wadena County.
Thank you.
And good morning, Chris and commissioners and everyone there. State Representative Ron Kresha. I have the 9B side of the district, which is Long Prairie proper, and then 5 townships. John and I both wish we could be there with you. Unfortunately, we're pulling double duty, and I'm out of Ways and Means right now. We have a House floor session at 11, so apologize for the Zoom presence, but this is the only way we can make it work.
Thank you, both representatives. At this time, I'd like to just give a little bit of just some protocol for this meeting. This meeting is an informational meeting. This is not a meeting where we will be discussing individual property values. So just understand that this is going to be an informational session. Also, I'd like to remind you to please make sure your phones are silenced and any other electronic device that you might have, just to lessen the disruption throughout the course of this meeting. So with that, I will turn it over to our County Assessor, Chris Odden.
Thank you. We have a short PowerPoint presentation today. I was requested to be here to provide education on assessment, taxes, market value, and the changes in those items that most of you have probably seen in 2022. Just to outline how the property tax process works, there are 3 main offices that calculate property tax. I, as the assessor, am in charge of determining the property value and the property classification of all property in Todd County. The board, in this case, the Board of Commissioners, but also your elected township officials, your city councils, and your school boards set the tax levy for what they need to operate in every calendar year. And the Auditor Treasurer's Office receives data from the assessors and the elected boards to calculate the final tax for each individual parcel. When you pay your property tax, you pay directly to Todd County, and then the auditors redistribute the money to your townships, schools, and cities. We also obviously keep a portion of those taxes for our own monetary needs. The assessor, can you go back one more? Sorry. So I want to make it very clear that the assessor's office and the elected boards are independent processes. I value property based on market. They calculate a levy based off of needs. The assessment doesn't dictate the needs. One example that we've been using a lot lately is the reverse of what we're seeing today. Today, we're seeing large value increases in the market. That doesn't mean that the taxes will correspond proportionately. If you reverse the situation and we see a recession and property values decrease, is that going to decrease the need for roads sheriff, schools, we know that it won't. So that's an example of how assessment can do one thing and the levy may do another. These next two slides show how property tax is calculated. In the red, you'll see the 3 different levies. In the blue, you'll see what the assessor's office does, and that's calculate market value and determine classification. Those 2 items together become your property tax rate. And the final portion of the equation is rates and property tax. Just to summarize what I've talked about so far, the assessor, their duties include value and classification. Our values are determined annually and reported to property owners in March. Values change based on physical characteristics of the property and market conditions. The classification is determined based on the actual use of the property. The elected boards and councils determine the financial needs of the entity. Their financial needs are determined annually as well and reported to taxpayers in November. The final step in the process is the auditor treasurer. They receive the completed assessment data. They receive the completed levy information. They use that data to generate a tax bill and then redistribute the collected tax to the jurisdictions. Anoka County produced a short video. It's about 3.5 minutes long that does a really good job of talking about the whole process. So I'd like to take the next 3 to 4 minutes and we're going to show that video here.
As long as governments have existed for thousands of years, so have taxes. By definition, a tax is a charge or levy of money in this age collected by the government from people or businesses for public use. Examples include income tax, sales tax, and property tax. The money is used to pay for police protection, roads and bridges, human services, and more. In Minnesota, the property tax is collected on property owned by a person or business. Decisions made by the government have a big impact on your property taxes, whether it be a decision made at the local, state, or federal level. The term local government refers to city, county, school district, and any other entity that has been given taxing authority by law. If you take a look at the property tax notification or statement, you'll see that it lists a whole host of taxing authorities. The county sends these notices on behalf of those taxing authorities, including your city, school district, the state, and several others depending on their need and the type of property you own. Every year, each of those taxing authorities sets a budget for the upcoming year. They determine how much property tax levy will be necessary to support that budget. A change in any of those city, county, or school district budgets and levies could impact your property taxes. To make it really simple, think of the property tax levy as a pie. Once the levy amount or the size of the pie is established, it's time to determine how to divide it. The number of slices represents the number of properties contributing to the pie. The size of each slice is determined by value. Bigger slices represent higher value properties, or vice versa. How did the size of your slice become smaller? First, your government can lower the levy amount collected from property owners, meaning the overall size of the pie gets smaller. Second, more properties could be built in the community, which helps use the share for everyone. No doubt you've heard the phrase, many hands make light. And third, the amount of money local governments receive from state and federal sources could increase, leaving the local government less dependent on the tax levy. But what about your property value? Where does that go? Your property value probably fluctuated a lot during the recent recession. Your property taxes can be affected by your property value. The market value of your property is the likely selling price in the current market. That value is evaluated or assessed at least every 5 years by an assessor hired by the county. The assessor will determine if the property is valued similarly to comparable properties in the area. Your property taxes are also affected by the value of other property, whether it's a home or business, existing or new. A significant increase or decrease in another property's value can affect your property's value. As we said earlier, new construction can help lower property taxes by growing the tax base and thus diluting tax responsibility. So the amount of property taxes you pay can be influenced by both your property's value and the value of the properties around it. Overall, the amount you pay in property taxes boils down to 2 things: property value, whether it's yours or someone else's, or a decision made by the local, state, or federal government. Collectively, the money savers, law enforcement, the roads we travel, where we learn, where we laugh, and where we live.
So that video summarizes what I've been trying to explain, is that it's really 2 pieces to the puzzle: your value and the levy. But your value, that increase you see, is a proportionate increase. That's where they talked about the slices of pie. Here is a timeline. When we talk market value, what we're doing is we're reviewing sales data and applying that sales data to properties with similar attributes. And the area in green here is the period of time of sales that we're looking at. We then assess the property as of January 2nd. We give notices middle of March. We review with local boards in April. We review with the county board in June. That's the assessor's portion of this timeline. After that, the commissioners and other elected officials will review their levy needs. And then we have what's referred to as the TNT meeting. That takes place in November. That is a meeting where we discuss the proposed levy. And then 4 months after that, you'll receive your tax statement. As of today, the county board has only started working on the 2023 levy. We don't know at this time what that final number will be. So therefore, we don't know how this assessment is going to directly affect your tax. What we do know is, one more, please. Thank you. This sheet that I'm showing right now is, we call it an abstract. It shows the amount of change that occurred in the county since the last year, 1 year ago at this time versus today. You can see the overall market value went up 20%. Ag market went up 17%. Residential overall increased 22%. If your value increased 20%, your proportion compared to last year is the same. Your percent of the whole is the same. If it increased by a different number, it will affect your tax. But we still only know one number of that tax equation. Various reasons why your taxes may increase. We talked about it a little bit in the video. I've listed just 10 out here. Market value increase, property classification change, new construction, neighbors assessment change. Again, it's proportional to the whole. Any increases in levy, special assessments, changes in tax law, or referendums. These all have an effect on your tax. This is a map of Minnesota that shows it's not just Todd County. Todd County values for residential homes increased 22% in the last year. Morrison, 20%, Wadena, 25, Otter Tail, 19, Douglas, 20, Stearns, 21. There's a lot on here, and they're all about the same. Every county's experiencing these same changes in market value. I have questions on here, and I want to invite questions, but I also want to make sure that we are being generalized. We're not going to talk about any one specific property today. One question that came up before this that I'd like to handle first is, the question was, if my assessment changed 30%, why did my neighbors change 25? Without getting into any specifics, I can think of two reasons without looking at the parcel. One, you don't have the same things. Maybe you have tillable land and they have woods. Maybe you have a 2015 home and they have a 1950 home. The other reason is you're not classified the same, or you're not in the same jurisdiction. When we review market data, we're stratifying that data to try to be as accurate as possible. We're not trying to paint the entire county with a brush. We're being specific as possible, saying that what we're seeing is residential homes increase this much, ag land increase that much. So to compare a property to your neighbor's property, you really have to be exact. Is there anyone want to raise your hand? Yep. Go ahead. I don't know your specific situation right now. Sorry, he stated that I'm comparing his home to mobile home sales, and I don't know your specific sale at this time or your specific property, so I'm not able to answer that.
So can you explain to everybody homesteading credit works?
Yeah.
There's no point going on the video if we don't understand the budget that corresponds to the levy. Where that levy, we know where it comes from. But like all of these social programs that we pay for, you know, my neighbor doesn't go to work and I do, I still pay for that. At what point do we as members of the county draw that line and say, we can't continue to increase this levy because there's less and less people going to work along with our homestead? Somebody. Somebody also needs to, and we don't have a voice, needs to talk with our state, so pretty sure it's a state law, our homesteading credit. Once you get $400,000, that goes away.
And I'll be happy to touch on that.
Okay, Mr. Chair, if I could just please, Chris, would you please repeat the question?
Yes. The first part of the question was, how is homestead credit calculated? Homestead credit is calculated. I wish I had my graph, but the maximum homestead credit you can receive is an exclusion of $30,400 on your property. In other words, if your property's value is $76,000, we're going to tax it as if it's $30,400 less. So on the blue sheets you received in March, there was two numbers on it, at least. One was the estimated market value, one's the taxable market value. Once a property has reached the value of $76,000, your homestead exclusion begins to decrease at a rate of 9% until your value is $413,800, at which point homestead is zero. That is set by state statute. We do not make that up here. There has been discussion if it's still a good number, and I can't answer that. I can't answer the fact that that's in statute and that's what we're applying today. But it's the reason why most people saw their exclusion go down. Your homestead exclusion went down this year because your value went up. The second part, as far as social programs, levy questions, probably not my area of expertise, but if your neighbor, as you said in your example, has a house, they're paying towards the same thing, whether they're working or not.
And if somebody should go over the budget and how much we spend every year to go towards social programs, towards the highway department. And I did look it up, I found the figures, but if somebody go over that and have people understand that a lot of it goes towards social programs, it's very small that goes towards things that we truly need, like fire department, police department, things of that.
For those of you that can't hear, his comment was that we should be more concerned, or we should be concerned with the budget and how the dollars are being spent, whether they're towards roads or towards social programs. And again, can you go back a couple slides? On that timeline slide, it shows an area where it says TNT meeting, and that is the nature for that meeting. That November meeting, it's usually held around Thanksgiving or early December, is the budget meeting. I don't know if we've had 10 people there on average.
No, the Truth and Taxation meeting is held by my office up in the county boardroom. We've had a few years where we've had a few people there, but generally it's not. That's the time that we go through the county's budget, and the department heads are there to answer for their budgets and their departments and where the expenditures that they need. Just to cap on your question, if anybody is interested, the county financials are out on the webpage. I do post those out there, so they will say the county, what department, if it's public works, what their budget is, what the expenditures are. That is all posted out there and it's viewable for the public.
So it's all this information.
Yep.
But you guys didn't detect exactly how taxes work.
Yep.
It's what the actual budget for all the-
Right, and that's what,
They
yep.
go hand in hand. I was
Right.
talking about one, not the other. That's exactly why our taxes are where they are, because our budget is where it is. The budget is down here, and that's.
And just to recap on that, the county board in last year's budget session, we have not started this year's for 2023, but we. Pardon? I didn't.
I want to stop. Township school. Look specifically at the township portion. A multi-million-dollar facility in a $3.7 billion Todd County isn't a large effect. But it may be in a township with $50 million of value. That could have a large effect towards one portion of your 3-portion tax. They showed one pie in the video. There's 3. Possibly, without looking at the specifics, the overall levy increases could have negated the effect of the $1 million facility.
To help all of us not pay as much tax, but it is to the point where let's make this 10 o'clock Tuesday meeting. I mean, people are concerned, and we need to find a solution, not just get a slide that I've already gone through. I know how all this stuff works. All I want is for our representatives to say, our concerns are your concerns. We will do our best to try to find a solution. Your concerns are our concerns.
Can we address that to them?
Yeah.
What's that?
Can we address that to one of the representatives? Would they like to comment in regards? Can they hear that?
Bobby, what do you want to hear from the representatives today?
I think what everybody wants to hear is, we are concerned with the exact same thing you guys are concerned with. And we will we don't need to hear this. We don't, at the end of the day, it's what we pay. It's not how we get there. That's not gonna fix the problem. The problem is that I pay $5,000 a year and $2,000 of it goes to Todd County. And the only reason I'm so first on this is because I'm fighting Bertram, because I pay $2,300 to the town of Bertram. I mean, we need to come up with a solution, whether it's get that budget down or, I mean, that's the only way to do it. You have to get the levy down. It has to get down to a point to where people can afford it with our federal government doing what they're currently doing and the rate of inflation going up. I'll be taxed out of my home, but I worked my ass off for 10 years. We're not pointing fingers at you guys. It's not specifically anyone's fault, but we need to find a correct solution.
Mr. Chair, if I could, and again, if we can repeat or restate those questions or comments that are coming from our public, I do want to give an opportunity for the representatives to speak if they would like to. I see that Representative Kresha at this time has he's unmuted, so I'm going to give him an opportunity to speak, and hopefully he was able to hear some of those comments.
Yeah, so Chris and commissioners, if you can restate, I heard some of it, but it was pretty faint. So I wasn't able to pick up on all the comments. So if someone can restate some of the comments and the question, that would be helpful.
So I believe the specific comment was that they understand that values do go up, but their concern is really with the levy and also with the, I'm going to say the mandated programs that we have that might not be specifically funded and that we have to fund them within the county. But we do have federal and state programs that we all pay for. And I think that was kind of a paraphrase of the concern.
Okay, so my comments, and I hope everyone can hear me. I'll try to address that the best I can, and my comments will be fairly broad. That, as we all know, this is a pretty complicated process, and at the state, we have looked at programs like local government aid, and we've looked at other ways of reducing property taxes and helping to reduce some of those services. Unfortunately, what happens is we'll get federal programs that'll come through with federal dollars attached, and those will have programs and mandates, and you're left with a situation of, do we send the dollars to the counties because the programs are attached to that? And we also know that many of the programs have grown with Health and Human Services, law enforcement, schools are passing levies. So there's an expansion across the board. What I can tell you is, I know that Representative Poston and I have not supported many of those mandates. We've tried to get direct tax dollars through reductions. A number of years ago, we did a property tax reduction that helped with some of the businesses to help with Main Street. And we've tried to hold down some of the residential. I can tell you the frustration that I'm hearing here is across the board. I have a number of other counties that I represent, and I'm having these meetings frequently. What I expect will happen will be some types of property tax reduction bills that will happen, but those won't happen until probably at the end of this year. We're right in the ending of the cycle of this biennium, and right now we're having ways and means, or budgets are already moving. So we don't have the bills in front of us right now that could pass. Not to say that that couldn't happen with a special session, but I don't want to set up false hope either. What I want to tell you is we're all very aware of this. I pay property taxes as well. And we're looking for solutions at the state, but where we're left with is, do we send the money to the state, to the counties, or do we just not send the money and then it's on your back with the programs that are attached to it? So that's what we try to weigh out. I don't know that I have a good answer for you, other than we understand the problem and we're trying to address it with whatever types of reductions we can see in taxes. Representative Poston, maybe you want to weigh in.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Kresha. I could echo a lot of what you said. I'm getting these same kinds of comments from all three of the counties that I represent. I would tell you that I don't like, and I know Representative Kresha doesn't like, unfunded mandates. that go to the counties. We do our very best to avoid those, but there have been an awful lot of them. I was doing a little bit of research because I'm having a meeting with Wadena County at the same time, and I just want to share a little bit of information with you and kind of explain how this levy business can really affect a county. So Wadena County, believe it or not, is the third highest taxed county in the state. So if you have a home in Wadena County and it's got $250,000 value, your taxes right off the bat for the county are $1,900, which is significantly more than many counties. Right now, Todd County is almost $1,500 right out of the chute with the county levy. In Wadena County, not too many years ago, they had 10 people employed in what was then called the welfare office. Today, they have 58 people in what is now called Health and Human Services. At the same time, the population in the county has gone down. And you probably all know that, it's a small population county. It's a poorer county, if you will, for no better term. And this health and human services business, as people get older, is taking its toll on taxes. And all of this is part of their levy. All of this comes from property tax. I, like Ron, hope there are going to be some things that we can do from a state standpoint that will hopefully help. But I do have to say that anything we do from a state standpoint probably means putting money into this. And when we put money into this, that money comes from somewhere, and that money comes from all of us too. So this is kind of a tough situation we're in right now. All 87 counties are dealing with the same thing. Home values, farm values, business values are just skyrocketing. You all know that. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, and I don't know that that's going to change anytime soon. I think the assessor has done a really good job of explaining how this works. And I want to thank you for that, sir. It's been a really good explanation. We are working on some things that hopefully will make some adjustments in taxes. So be looking for some things to happen. I noticed on the agenda there was legislative priorities. Well, some of the priorities are, we want to get rid of Social Security tax. Now, that's not a property tax, but it's a tax issue. And we're trying to get this UI tax bill over the finish line so it doesn't affect our small businesses. And there are many of those in Todd County. Commissioner Newman and I have been analyzing a lot of different things, kind of going back and forth a little bit over the last month. And, one of the things that Commissioner Newman was concerned about was per pupil funding for students in greater Minnesota compared to metro Minnesota. So we did a little bit of research and we found out that actually, with the exception of Minneapolis and St. Paul, those two particular cities, we're pretty much even Steven, for no better term, with the metro districts. Per pupil funding, with from the state aid standpoint only, is at $11,000. So if you're in suburbia in the metro area, you're at $11,000. If you're in Todd County, you're at $11,000. If you're in Minneapolis, St. Paul, you're more like $13,000. So that's where there is kind of a gap in those taxes. But we've been looking for opportunities to make these taxes go down a bit, and we will continue to do that. And like Ron said, probably it's going to most likely happen towards the end of this calendar year or going into our next session. Thanks.
Thank you, representatives.
Chris, do you want to field a few more questions or?
I know, go ahead.
sales in this township. But so if my township, the land is worth 4,000 an acre, and, you know, say Larissa is worth 2,000 an acre, why should I have to pay more of the county? I know I understand how it works. Why should I have to pay more of the county bill? Because my property is worth more, because roads cost the same up in Larissa as they do.
I understand. I'll paraphrase your question for the group. Question is why do we assess based on township or jurisdiction instead of viewing it as a whole? The example given was if tillable land in one township is worth 4,000 an acre and it's worth 2,000 in another township, the farmer with the $4,000 land is paying more towards the county. In a word, correct. State statute says assess at market value. And if we take their example saying $4,000 an acre in Gordon Township and $2,000 an acre in Bartlett Township, and we applied an average, that would be me basically saying that land is worth $3,000 an acre in this example. I can't go to Bartlett Township and look them in the eye and say your land is worth $3,000 an acre. To use the example to another degree, to say a house is a house. You live in a house, you pay Todd County tax. To say that a mobile home is worth the same as a house on Big Birch, I can't look that mobile home owner in the eye and say these houses are equal. Now you pay the same. Tax is correct. They are using, yep, they are. Taxes, the resource, he commented that the resources they use are the same, but it's a tax, it's not a fee. The same could be said for a sales tax. The more you buy, the more you get taxed. Income tax, the more you make, the more you pay. Correct. This is how taxes work. No, property taxes are based off of what the government, me, thinks your property is worth divided by the total levy. The question was, why do we need more money based on what your property is worth? And that question fully circles back to the beginning of the conversation. The value and the assessment is separate from the levy. If your property is worth more than your neighbor's, you will most likely pay more tax.
Right, agreed. Only comment I have with that is the same plow truck goes past everybody's house. Same grader goes past everybody's house. Somebody in the town of Bertram, let's say, they live in Bertram just like I do. The same, you know, give the same services that I do. I get nothing more, actually less, because it's not even a town plow truck. By my house, it's a county plow truck. But because it looks like I have more money, I get taxed more because I want more. The problem with that is our county is going to continue to be great because nobody's going to want more for themselves if they're going to get taxed more. It sucks. I get it, but it's a never-ending circle. I mean, eventually, we'll have nothing. We'll have homes that are degraded, and nobody's going to want to move here.
This is Steve Herney. I'm gonna let him speak to that.
Hi, my name is Stephen Herney. I'm with the Minnesota Department of Revenue. I've been in the assessment business since 1975. What the state's property tax system is set up is based on that if you have a higher property that you would sell on the market, those properties are, the system is designed, those property owners will have a larger share of the property tax burden. It's not what you make. It has nothing to do with your income. It would be if that property sold on the market, what would it sell for? Well, it is. And you're talking about services. Property tax is set up that we all share the burden for our services. not whether we use a particular service. Are you going to now say that I don't have any kids going to school, so I shouldn't share the school levy burden? Take a look around at yourself, your parents, your grandparents, your grandchildren, your children, your neighbors, your friends. There are people that need services, and the system is set up that we all share that obligation. And the system is set up that if we have a higher type property, the system is set up that we will contribute more towards those services. If you have an ag property, if you have the same value property in the state of Minnesota, and if it's ag homestead, you're going to pay the least of the property tax. And if you have commercial, you're going to pay the highest. That's just the way the system is set up for contribution. Until the system is changed, and it hasn't changed in my career, that's the way it's set up. We all have an obligation to pay for services that we may not use personally. We have family that use them, friends, neighbors. Those are services that if you need the service, you don't have the finances, resources to do it. Should we set up differently because you have a paved road versus a gravel road? No, we all use roads. Whether you drive or not, there is still services obligation. And that's the state system. If you don't, to change the state system, it always has been in my career, ag homestead will get the least property taxes, commercial will pay the highest. And any change of those, if you give reduced commercial, it just gets shifted to a different property class. The pie remains the same. Somebody's got to pay that amount. Reducing your slice is going to increase another property's slice. It doesn't go away.
Say, Chris? Chris? If I could just add to the comments of Steve, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last name from the Department of Revenue, but thank you for that comment. But I want to add this. One of the things that we battle with, and there was a mention that the property tax system hasn't changed. The makeup and the big battle that we deal with at the legislature is the amount of rural areas versus the metro. When you hear on the school side, you hear the compensatory aid kicks the per pupil unit up about $2,000 more than our rural. That's the big fight we get into, is whenever we try to make changes, we're going to see, we try to make it a uniform system, but there are other areas of the state that frankly have more legislators and more voices because of the density of population. And this becomes a very difficult battle for us, and one that we're very wary about, because we know we can go in there with guns blazing and be very frustrated and hear these concerns, but we also know that we can go in there and lose on a numbers game. And we know that depending on who's in the executive branch or the makeups of the two bodies, a piece of legislation that has a very good idea or that possibly could help us out in the counties in our rural areas could quickly add to or be slanted the wrong direction with amendments and the executive signature. So that's why there's a lot of reluctance to actually go in and start messing with this. We're trying to tweak around the edges to get it right, but getting it wrong has such dire consequences for the areas that I represent that it becomes a very tenuous situation.
Sir, in the back, overalls, I've seen your hand up the whole time.
How can we be assured of getting an appointment with the assessor?
What's that?
How can we be assured of getting an appointment with the assessor?
Chris, he's
How can you-
asking, how can he be assured of getting an appointment with the assessor for his appeal process?
The blue notice that you're holding there has information on it.
Yes, I called the number, I haven't received anything back.
I will personally apologize. There are 5 people in the office. There are 24,000 parcels, and we have heard from more people this year than we have ever heard in the past, maybe combined in my tenure. Thank you for the applause, but we're truly trying to handle them in the order received and according to whose meeting is next. Most township boards hold a local meeting where we discuss property assessments. So the 21st is an open book meeting. If you choose to attend, you'll be meeting with me at my office. It's open book meetings. If your meeting occurs after today, you're just meeting with me or one of my staff members, and we can meet all the way through June 13th when the county board makes their final decision on the assessment. Overall, go ahead.
Chris,
Yes.
Chris, I hate to interrupt on the legislative side, but I'm getting the call, John and I are getting the call that we're going to have to check in on the House floor so we can be counted present and then vote. So I apologize, but we come back in at 11 and it takes us a couple minutes to set up our system so that we can hit the presence button. So thank you for the time, and certainly direct any comments or people can contact our offices, and we'll do our very best to respond as well.
Thank you, Representative Poston and Kresha, for taking the time to meet with us today. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Sir.
And secondly, if we look at overall taxation, property value, I think most of us would agree that due to the lack of housing, not just in our county, but all over, and the near zero interest rates that we've encountered over the past years, we're in a bubble of inflated value.
Okay. I'll repeat your comments and questions. The first portion of your question was who determines the classification of the property? Essentially you do. We assess your property according to how you are actually using it. We do follow the guidelines and rules written in statute that say what it takes to qualify for a certain classification. For example, residential homestead. You have to own it and occupy it. Those are the two main things to get a residential homestead. Agricultural, you must farm at least 10 acres of the parcel. So we're going to use those state statute requirements and your actual use to determine the classification. Go ahead. So the question there was, if we change a parcel's classification, how do you as a property owner know? How do we know? How do we know that a parcel qualifies, or how do we base our decisions on a classification? We use a combination of different techniques. Primarily, we're going to stop at every parcel once every 5th year. So we personally view the properties, 20% of the properties every year. Secondly, we use aerial photography taken in the county to measure land masses. Those land masses might be woods, waste, tillable land. Those values and classifications are reported on those blue notices that you received in March. And if you see something there that you question, please question it. We'd be happy to answer. We'd be happy to work with you. Some classifications require annual applications. And if you see that your classification has changed, maybe you didn't apply. We can certainly help you. We can certainly work with you to make sure that your classification and value are correct. Yes, ma'am.
My question is that when I called into the assessor's office, they said that property value is also based on how the homes around us are being sold. Again, like he's talking, the interest rates being low, we're getting people that are moving here from maybe the cities, they want to get out of the rut down there. And what is ending up happening is they're paying over $100,000, sometimes $150,000. They walk in and they overbid, And then our properties are going up skyrocketing because they're compared to the fact that somebody else can afford to come in. I don't plan on selling my home. I plan on living here for a while, but you're taxing me on being able to live in Todd County.
Okay, I'm gonna. All right, so the question comment was, is your homes are assessed compared to sale prices that have occurred in your area? The comment was that those sales are occurring, the buyers are from the metro and you don't want to leave your home. And that assessment is going to create an additional tax. Correct? So first, your values are absolutely compared to neighboring properties with similar characteristics. That is market value. We reassess every year and the values are determined primarily based on sales of similar real estate. That's how we determine value. As far as the buyer's former location, that's not part of the equation. We don't calculate how far the buyer had to drive to buy a parcel in Todd County.
System, if you intend to sell it, but if it was sold.
So a 2-bedroom patio home goes up from 170,000 to 298, and the property goes up. I mean, over 100,000. So my home is worth over 100,000. I'm going to be taxed out of being able to live here.
I don't know the specifics of your home, and we're not going to talk specifics today. But again, I need to reiterate that value doesn't equal tax.
If you can kind of refrain from talking amongst yourselves, it makes it really hard to hear the questions. I appreciate that you've been patient, but we have to have it quiet. Otherwise, it's almost impossible to hear the questions up here. So if you want to field a couple more, or how many ever you would like, Chris, and then we can go from there.
Go ahead, sir.
Rick Westman, Bottom Lake Township. Everybody hear me all right? Okay. A couple of perceptions here. So I moved into the property that I have now in 2016. I bought it for $150,000. Well, since that time, my property taxes have gone up 110%. Is anybody here less than 22% coming here? Anybody? Okay, so I'm sure the mathematical data you gave us is probably accurate some way, but for the most of us here, we're paying more than 22%. Correct? Now, there's a fix to all this stuff. How many people up here are elected officials? Raise your hands. There. Going against that referendum, and what did they do? They tackled it any damn way. Replace them. Replace them.
Mr. Mickles. You just.
One point is on the house, the tax credit, when we all went up by 20% or more, and the credit stops at 413,000. Why don't you raise that by 20%? Why don't you raise the credit?
Randy, I'm gonna paraphrase your question. He asked why we don't raise the homestead credits. State statute. We're just reading the law. The law says.
I'm gonna ask that you don't yell. We're paraphrasing the questions. There's not a need to yell to the crowd, and if it continues, we'll stop. We're trying to be decent about this, and we appreciate your concerns. You can yell, you can be decent, you can come up here and ask nice questions. We'll paraphrase it so you can hear it. There's no need to yell. Go ahead. Well, we didn't get a chance.
Exclusion is set by state statute.
So if I can paraphrase. Just, we can repeat it. So there's a good portion of the county that now gets no tax credits because of the appreciable value, the paper value of the home. And so one thing I think the state and the county needs to address is when you paper us with 20% increase in values, you need to give us the tax credits to go with it. Doesn't make sense not to raise one, because it sounds like everybody went up by 20% or more, but our credits didn't go up at all. So in a sense, we're paying higher taxes by getting less credits.
Chris,
Yes, please.
as Chris indicated, the homestead exclusion is set by state statute. But remember, if the state statute changed and it went from 400 to $1 million, that will help those property owners. It's going to hurt the remainder of the property owners because you will be picking up that tax burden. It doesn't go away. It just means that your lower priced that homes will probably see an increase because the tax rate will have to go up. You have a tax base. If you reduce the tax proportion for one classification or one part of a classification, it doesn't go away. It is now going to be spread on the remainder property owners. So yes, you can have the legislature change the homestead exclusion from phase out at 400,000, you can move it up to $1 million. It's going to help those property owners in that group. The rest of the property owners will see an increase to pick up that burden. It doesn't go away. So just remember that a benefit to one type of property doesn't resolve the issue. The amount of money is going to be levied, and the lower priced homes are going to see a higher tax rate due to the fact that the tax base has shrunk.
Randy, did that answer your question or address it kind of?
The second question is the pie. Okay, Todd County's pie is small. The pie is getting smaller, and our levies are going up. Meaning the cost to take care of the county must be higher every year. And Rod, you and I talked about it. You look at the economy now. People buy online. There's not brick and mortar. There's a lot less merchants in this city right now than there was 20 years ago, and yet the cost to run it is a lot higher. So Todd County is a little bit unique in the sense that we don't get people to move in and build businesses to share the burden and the cost increases around the county. And from an assessment standpoint, I'll only point out that Donnelly and our Donnelly was assessed at $4 to $5 million for 20 years. It sold at half of that. So I don't quite understand how the assessment works. And the other one was Berget at the Creamery, where he just stopped paying his taxes because he knew the value of that building wasn't higher. And in fact, it costs, I think, as much to destroy it as what the building was worth, possibly more. So I don't know the answer, but I think a lot of us here, you want to work towards a solution, but we're one of the counties that are shrinking. And our tax base is shrinking, so the rate is getting astronomical. Where you compare, I think as Representative Austin said, what I pay for my business and its assessed value is a lot higher than the same assessed value in the same classification in Douglas County.
And that's what the gentleman was saying. We're not gonna get new business to come here because you're taxing us out of it.
Thank you.
The question is, what did my taxes go up? Well, I guess we could ask the auditor treasurer. Do you have that information available?
Taxes for 2023, based on your assessment, is not ready right now.
We don't know what my taxes
We
are gonna
don't
go
have
up.
I don't have the school levies, I don't have the township levies yet, and I don't have the cities. Those are all the equation of the taxation.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Oh, sorry,
Well-
he was first.
Sorry.
Some stuff, what you guys are saying, I think what we'd all like to know is, what are you guys gonna do about our taxes? How are you gonna bring them down? What are you gonna do with all? I've been fielding some questions myself, instead of on the city council, very, not a big town, but we want, what are you guys gonna do with those? Not just graphs, and that's okay, appreciate that, but what is gonna be done? So he is a member of the city council of Bertram, and he'd like to know what we're gonna do to resolve the issue, but to expand on that, what issue, the assessment or the tax? The levy.
The levy is the problem. That's the only way to get the value down. You can't change the classification of the home. The only way to get it down is to get that levy shrunken. That's the only way to do it. We all know
So,
that because if we change the classification for the homestead credit, somebody else pays for it because the levy does not change. Now, if the levy comes down and shrinks to an amount that people will gladly pay, I'm willing to pay for a retiree that needs to go to the hospital, things like that. I am neither as anybody else willing to pay any more for somebody to sit at home and not work while I have to work. That's essentially the problem. Not all these companies can do this, though. We can decide how much money we are putting towards social services. And in 2022, it was $3.8 million. The total budget, I believe, if I remember reading it right, was 18 million. What is it, 20%? 20% is a lot of money. My money, their money, your money, everybody's money. If we can get some of these budget items down to an amount that everybody can manage, the taxes go down. I mean, I have this much in my checkbook, I have this much I want to spend. It's simple. If I don't have enough, I can't just force my employer to give me more money. I have to decide what to take out of the other side. And that's what we have to do in order for this to go away.
Okay.
I'm not gonna speak to the budgets.
Yeah. Well, we're not to that point yet. We're just starting on the budgets. And so we'll know that in the near future, but and again, I guess, I don't know if somebody else wants to respond to the question, but I think we're all going to be trying to work together, no different than what you heard from the state representatives, from the county end of it, and anything we can do to help try to do what we can to solve the problem.
So,
Right.
Just
Appreciate your comments.
before I
Thank you.
take another question, I
Yep.
do want to remind everybody here that Minnesota does have property tax refund. There are two methods to qualify for a tax refund. One is income based and one is based on the percent of change from the prior year. So if you use a tax accountant or are comfortable doing it yourself, look into that. That money can come back to you. At least a portion of that money can come back.
Sir?
I'd like Ron Richter from Long Prairie Township, I'd like to address the crowd. We have a mechanism here on the needs and values, and they come up with our taxes. It's kind of, to make it simple, okay? We're all hurting. We're all in this together. I think we have to either change, we can't pick on these people. We have to change the mechanism or get in front of the mechanism and make our changes. And we the people have to start speaking up. We've been quiet too long when this has happened. We're kind of our own fault. But we need to speak up and find, there's enough intelligent people in this room that we can find out how we can get ahead of it and fix it. You know, if we're spending money on things we don't spend money on, we need to get together and get other counties and do something this fall. So that's my opinion.
Right.
You said that, the mill rate for Todd County is about 0.093, correct?
I,
Kind of average. The mill rate. I looked it up on the internet, that's what they're telling me. Okay, if the mill rate is at that, you guys are going up 22%, you just said it. Okay, are you gonna drop that mill rate 20%?
all right, can I,
That's what I want, because if you put the valuation as high as one, you put drop your mill rate, there ain't none of us gonna be around here.
okay, I'm gonna paraphrase that just so everybody knows. We're talking about the mill rate, which has now changed. It's a tax capacity right now, but the rate and the equation remains the same. Total taxes divided by total value equals the rate you're talking about.
The mill rate.
Yep, we call it a tax capacity right now, but it's a rate. So we don't drop the rate. We independently value and classify, and those two numbers divided by one another become the rate.
But on an average, it said 0.093. That's what it said.
It changes every year.
We're one of the higher ones in the state. If you look up there, we're, you know, like I said, but if you take your general mill rate, we are higher. And if you keep raising this valuation of everybody's property here, and if you don't lay over that mill rate, how are we gonna survive?
I understand what you're saying, but I want to reiterate again, the rate is the product of the equation. The rate isn't the goal. The value.
Rate isn't established.
Right. The rate is the relationship between our two duties together. It changes every year based on what we have done as assessors and what the boards have done as elected officials. The rate isn't, we never go in with a rate in mind. We go in with a budget in mind and we go with an assessment already completed. The rate is just the product of the end. That's the end result. It's not the goal. It changes every year. If the levy goes down, the rate goes down. If the value goes up, the rate goes down. It's independent.
But just for you guys that don't want to business, there's a lot of business owners out here too. And Don Poston and the other guy, they can talk all they want, you can say it's wrong. I got a letter from the government, from Minnesota, that the unemployment rate, the first paragraph, we're told that we won't raise your rate. The next paragraph, I can show you the letter. We went from a 0.01 to a 0.05, a 4% increase on our unemployment. And I got two guys that are sitting at home taking unemployment due to COVID. Until they change that, we're never gonna get a change in our rate, on our mill rate or nothing, because they keep wanting more money, just like you guys do. And I understand that cost goes up. But what about us business owners that are trying to make a living out of it? I mean, John Bolton didn't hear that, and he didn't do a damn thing. I called him. Nothing.
I can't address that, I guess, as from the county side, we certainly will try again to do our best that we can as far as trying to lower or contain the taxes on it. I know there's groups out there and there's economic groups out there looking at trying to bring businesses in that work with that on a regular basis. I am not necessarily part of that group, so I can't really respond to what they're doing or not doing. I'm not part of it, so I honestly can't answer the question if it has been looked at or not looked at, but it's certainly things that are out there, I'm sure. Okay. All right, thank you, Dallas. Go ahead.
Like here, Hillside Township, I stood before the commissioner about 4 years ago, so we're gonna tax people out of their homes and little change things. We've had some good conversations, first one not so good, but I think we got past that. So I'm glad Chris brought up the tax elevation of the county. Here's what I see, we paraphrase all this. 3 to 4% growth of government, at the tax home level, 3 to 4% growth at the state level, $9.5 billion surplus at the state level, and the median income growth in rural America, 1.35%. Make sense? We're making less money, and we're getting taxed more. Some of it's tied to valuation. But really, this issue should have been dealt with 3 or 4 years ago, probably more. Budget to the county, 26 million, 2014, 38 million, 2020. That's where our problem is. That's why the frustration we have here. If we've been looking at this, we probably wouldn't have this many people here today. I do have another issue with valuation as far as rural business and farmland. There are a lot of rural businesses out there, and we're taxed at a higher rate. I'm right across the street. We're making a product. My own business, especially in the we don't produce any more value than that egg from the site. And yet we're taxing the higher rate. We pay more for the townships, for the roads, and we're hurting those rural businesses. Look at that. That's a detriment. Somebody talked about city. Growth in the cities, rural Minnesota. Sorry, small towns in Minnesota, you know, but there still is opportunity for rural businesses, and we're not helping them. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mike. All right, well, you have anything to add at this point, Chris? All right, I appreciate, okay, we'll take one more question and then we're gonna put it to. I'm not able to answer that question. Can anybody else?
No, DNR is, there's only HELT that pays taxes. That's property in lieu. DNR is exempt, so no, Todd County does not. Right, there probably is.
DNR has PILT land as well.
Yep.
Oh, yep.
Yep.
Did you
We
hear
do
that?
receive payments.
Yep. Go ahead, Chris, if you want to repeat that.
So the program you're referring to is abbreviated PILT. It's payment in lieu of taxes. And there is an equation that we receive back I believe it's 0.75% of the value per year on those lands. And we do receive a DNR payments June-ish. I don't know, it comes annually.
Midsummer we receive them.
Yeah.
There is funding that comes from the state in regards to those properties.
To the
is what
public
he's saying.
lands.
For some of them anyways. I believe that was done. Is that correct? Yep. Yes, I believe that's accurate.
No, they don't pay 3/4 of the rate of the people they bought the land from. Egg Homestead pays 0.5%. Most other rates pay 1%. So actually, it's possible the DNR is paying more than the Egg Homestead farms we have here today.
It's kind of right in between.
I can't speak to your specific parcel today. I don't know the.
Speaking in general, if a farm owns 600 acres and there's an 80 that's got the homestead credit on it, because that's the section that has the house. The other land is taxed at 1%.
No.
The other license, they tax it at 3/4.
We'll talk about Egg Homestead for a few minutes here. Egg Homestead, there's up to 1.8-ish million of egg use is homestead and is taxed at 0.5%. So no, the 400,000 number that we've been referencing is your house, your garage, and your first acre of land. Every egg parcel that has a house, garage, and 1 acre of land is that those 3 items are taxed at 1%. Every other portion of your farm is most likely taxed at 0.5. So in other words, half the rate. And that rate continues for $1.8 million worth of value, not 400. So it's a complicated system, but Egg has at least 2 different rates going on homesteaded property. Residential has 1. Way in the back.
How old does the house have to be considered no longer new build?
How old does a house have to be before it's no longer considered a new build? Are you referring to the new improvement value at the bottom of that blue sheet you received? I don't understand the question. So when we or a person builds or changes or remodels their property, you will most likely see an assessor that year. When you receive your blue notification sheet in March, on the bottom of it, there is a line that is generally blank that says new improvement value, and then there's usually not a number. If you had something that you physically changed to your parcel, there will be a number there. Now, in an example of a new home, we often see homes get started in 1 year, finish the next, or maybe even the year after that. In a case like that, we're going to have a new construction value for a portion of the total until it's done. So if you build a half of a house this year, you're going to see half of that value on next year's valuation statement, and then the following half when you complete it. So how long does it take before it's no longer new? It depends how long it takes to build. Sir?
This one shows April 21st. But did you mention before, you would have all the way till June to make it a final? Yeah. Is there any odds at all or anything?
Okay, so the question is in reference to the local board of review meetings, which are almost complete. On your specific one, it's referred to as an open book meeting. Open book meetings occur when the local township or city has deferred their right for appeal. Most townships or cities, the elected officials will sit in the town hall and review the assessment data, specifically of the people that appeal their notice. In the township like yours, they no longer hold that meeting anymore. So we hold a time in the assessor's office where we will meet one-on-one to discuss your valuation notice. And the second part of your question is, what's the chances that we're going to change it? That depends. What can you show me that I have incorrectly assessed today? Can you show me an appraisal? Can you show me something that shows that your barn blew over in the winter? Can you show me that the assessed value is wrong? Well, we just want it correct. It doesn't matter to me if your value goes up or down. It just has to be correct. Is April 21st your only opportunity? In the case of an open book, it's not. If your local township or city does not hold a meeting, you have until the commissioners meeting, which this year is June 14th, to schedule and meet a time. That being said, you can still go to the commissioners meeting even if you do not attend a local board meeting. But I do want to say that the commissioners meeting is by appointment only. So you must make an appointment to be heard in front of the county board meeting on June 14th.
The earlier they could come in would be better. It gives you opportunity to review it, to resolve it.
To make sure that some of this rebate stuff is put on there, that some of this is getting authority. Also own property. I'll make a bet that there's one on the east side.
I will address that, Dwayne. Our printers are outsourced, and we are one of 9 counties that the outsourcer, when I proofed our tax statements, those line items were printed on there and I signed off on them. And when they went to print through the night, the printers messed up. And so the data is there. If you go look on the web page, the tax statements are correct, but not to charge the taxpayers for reprinting the information on the county website, or we can print you a new tax statement in our office, can be sent out. The data is there. All the printers missed was the words. So it is correct on the tax statements. They're calculated correct. Not the verbiage isn't, but the amount is. The amount that says to use. If you go look on the website, or you can stop and, yep. So it is there. It's just the printers made an error and we didn't want to charge the taxpayers again. Well, the data on the statement is correct. It's just, we did check. I just told you that. We did get a proof from the printer and it was correct. Yep, and it was proof. It was, and we didn't want to, that's exactly right. We didn't want the taxpayers to pay for the printer's mistake. They are adjusting the bill, but it was past the statutory deadline of March 31st to send the tax statements out. And then the other thing that we deal with is we have a large elderly population. And if they would have gotten a second tax statement, they probably would have sent in a second payment. And so we didn't want that confusion as well. But the data on the statement on the webpage or within our office is correct. It's just the verbiage, the actual language was missing of the words.
went down 20,000, but the tax went up. It doesn't make sense. Something wrong with the whole thing.
Yes, ma'am. Correct. To paraphrase for the group, she asked if I said that just because your assessment goes up doesn't mean your taxes are going to go up. I responded correct.
There.
So, so you're asking what changed? So the assessments went up this year.
Chris, do you want to repeat the question?
Okay, yeah. So why did the assessments go up this year? Drastically. I printed off a list of how much they've changed in previous years and working from this year backwards. This year was 20% overall. Last year was 5. The year before that was 6. The year before that was 10. This is a lot. But it's not the first time they've changed. And they change in response to market. In our case, for the most part, market is sales of property that are similar to yours. And I say you, but I mean everyone. So when the market tanks, we're not going to speak to the taxes. When the market goes down, the value will go down. It did in 2015. The market went down in 2015. The market went down in 2012. The market went down in 2011. The market went down in 2010. The question from somewhere over there was, did the taxes go down? They didn't, but why not? Because there are independent processes. The markets and the taxes are two separate things. We've said this many times today, and I think your point over there illustrates that yet again. The market and the value are not the taxes and the levy.
All right, do we have any other questions? You want to take a couple more?
Sure, why not?
My question is, how many property sales get thrown out? Because over the last couple, I bought 2 houses, they didn't acknowledge my purchase price and what it's worth, because they told me it was worth more, different values. But I'm like, does that happen?
So,
How many values get thrown out?
so how many, you ask how many values get thrown out? I think what you mean is how many sales don't get used to determine market. Okay, I don't have that number in front of me right now, but what I can tell you is not every sale is a representation of the market. If my dad sells me land, I would hope that he's not going to do that at market value. I hope I'm getting a special deal. Okay, so other reasons could include Steve. Yeah, go ahead. There's 40 of them and
I'm also the PTCO property tax rep that works with Todd County. I work with 13 counties. Going over to South or North Dakota down to South Dakota and back over to Wilmer and up. General, about 50% of the sales that are filed are not used. Yes. It doesn't mean that internally in a county, we don't use relatives. A relative may or may not pay actual market value. We don't use them in our study just because of identifying which relative paid market and which relative got a break. Residential, seasonal rec, we don't use bank sales. Bank sale may or may not. For consistency, uniformity, we just don't use any of them. Properties that have physical change, something is torn down or built, are automatically rejected. A new house that is put up and then sold, it may be a valid, but at the time of the assessment, it was land only. We don't use the land only because it would skew the study. Physical change, relative, bank sales, contract for deeds with less than 5% down. We have 31 possible reject codes that we consider.
It just feels like you're cherry picking the values you want, and that changes everything. My taxes went up because somebody bought something on the link that was worth $350, but when I bought one place really cheap, no one, my neighbor's taxes didn't go down. I didn't bring their value down. But
So
my purchase wasn't comparable. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know the specifics of your sale today here. Yeah, so there's approximately.
If a residential seasonal estates are automatically rejected, foreclosures, for sale, we don't use them simply because the potential of they are, somebody may move out of state and our heirs get the property. They don't want to deal with the marketing. They take first offer. If it's not typical of the market, we don't include them. But what Todd County's experience is not any different than any of the other 13 counties I'm dealing with. Doesn't matter what kind of property you're talking about, res, seasonal, ag, commercial, the market is doing good. We're back to properties on water that every 20-25% right now in a given year, and ag is, it doesn't matter what kind of property you're talking about. The market demand is such and the supply is such, it is a seller's market.
Years ago, there's still a tax. Needs to have the tax sheet or whatever. Taxes on buildings die and not be buildings that are being poured out. I need to remember not always them, but the buildings that are paid down, unless you tell the assessor, it's probably not paid off. You're not going to see much. Yes, but as Chris has stated multiple times here, every 5 years, somebody from his office should be at your property. Yeah, that's not their job. You shouldn't have to do it. We do have. A lot of them are, but it used to be. So it's just something you should pay attention to what is tax.
Thank you, Roger. Did you have a question, sir?
So I believe you said that the commercial tax rate went up and the city limit rate went up more than. I want to make sure that we're talking the same terms here. So when you say tax rate, do you mean value? So if a certain jurisdiction experienced a greater change towards the change in market, sales are our primary indicator of market. Crop productivity index, it's a rating of soils. to determine the productivity or potential productivity of a certain land type. We have mapping. We know what they are. We have not yet applied them to the valuation. Yes, other counties in the state are doing that.
Some, right?
Some.
Some
It's a work in progress for a lot of counties. Some are fully implemented, some are working on it.
Is there any way that elected officials, I don't know, send us out a letter, you guys send us out a taxation letter every year. I've never seen a letter for truth and taxation for this meeting. I mean, we're not exactly always on the Todd County website. I think you get a lot more participation if they know what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Question or comment does correlate with the levy.
And that statement, if I may address that, the truth and taxation statement comes out of the auditor treasurer's office, and that is sent out in November. And then we have at the end of November, first week of December. And like we said before, it's in the county boardroom, and we have had people there. And the general purpose, it's called the truth and taxation, but the general purpose is that's the time and place where property owners can question the county board on their budgets for the year. Because that's the time they're determining what their budget being set at will determine the levy and the tax capacity rate. Yep. Yep. That's correct. Okay, our office is set.
Can you
I'll
repeat the
repeat the question. He's saying that his truth and taxation notice doesn't get to him in time, maybe 3 days before the meeting, so he can't. Okay, that's okay. And my comment to that is we follow the statutory deadlines that we have to have it out by. And I can't control the US Postal Service. And I will say this, that just last week, we received back a tax statement from 2 years ago that came back returned to sender. So I'm not trying to put blame anywhere, but we do have difficulties with postal delivery. So I apologize for that. And we follow the statutory guidelines of when we have to have it out by, so. I believe it's did we set that date right? It's December. Let me look here. I don't have it in here. I'm thinking it's December 8th, but just watch for your TNT the last half of November. Yep. It's on the webpage. It's always posted there. It's in the county commissioner news and on the county website calendar. It will be held, it's always held at the historic courthouse on top of the hill in the commissioner's boardroom.
Julie?
That about this meeting, also to please go back to there's a threshold of frustration. When I came to realize that there was 40+ classifications of real estate, it's a mess. It's really a mess. All I want
Thank you. Do you still have a question or?
So you were talking about how statistically 50% of the low market sales aren't figured in the market value. Low ball, it makes.
I don't think we.
They're not figured in because they're family sales or whatever.
Not necessarily. So speaking of the sales that aren't being used, they aren't necessarily the low sales. They're the ones, they're removed from the sales study, but not because they're low. It's because they don't meet one of the criteria, whether they're a relative sale or a bank sale or a sale that had physical changes between the assessment date and the purchase date. So there's a variety of reasons, but that purchase price isn't part of that equation.
Okay, so the family sale, over those two, which I know what that means. It more than not would be lower than market value. Bank repo more than not would be lower than market value. So I'm guessing you guys aren't figuring that in. So if you guys have any equation so that, say, two neighbors that hate each other don't want an 80-acre piece of land, and they fit each other into a bidding war so that they go extremely over market value, are there flags that throw those out also so that it doesn't represent the market value? Because lately, I mean, all these record sales that are going on in the state, surrounding states, they're not because land is worth $20,000 an acre. They're because there's 80 acres of these farmers that both want the land and they have the money to bid.
So basically, is there a reject code that we can use because something just smells funny? Yes, there is. It gets used on the high side. I would be willing to bet more often than the low side.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I reject a sale, it goes to Steve and he finalizes that. So-
There are, on any sale that is processed, there are multiple eyes that look at it. The county looks at the sale, makes a recommendation to the state. As their representative, I review all the sales in Todd County. We look at, let's say land is going for $4,000 an acre. You have two farmers who decide they want it and it goes for 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. The initial, it will be included. It will not be in at the end because at the end we look at the typical market. The typical market was 2,000 an acre. This is a 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. We exclude it as being non-typical of that market. So the answer to you is there's all eyes on it and we got, if something doesn't look typical of the market, and you can have that in other property where it should go for 50,000 and two people want it and now we're at 150,000. So if something sticks out that just isn't appear to be typical, it's reviewed further and highly likely it's not in the study, especially what your example on ag is something which doesn't mean that if the rest of the farmers now decide that 5,000 is, the following year 5,000 doesn't become the typical market and then they all would be included. So the assessor follows the market. As the people are willing to pay for the property, that determines how they're going to proceed.
Sir, orange hat.
Here's about like 3-4 weeks to set up this meeting. I haven't heard you guys say one thing about all that.
I think when it comes to the meeting topic today is about valuations, and that's done by the assessor's office. I think I got to lean forward. I can't look at you at the same time. Sorry. I think from the commissioner standpoint, and I'll speak for myself, I think we've stated once already that we appreciate all the concerns that you've brought here. And our part of it is where we set the levy. And that's the other portion that he's talking about today. And I will be willing to bet that we will be working very hard to take a look at how we can reduce that or cut that. And that's the best I can tell you from the commissioner side of it. And I was going to give the commissioners a chance to speak at the end as far as commenting, but as long as we're on the evaluation end of it, that comes from the assessor's office. So did that answer your question kind of? No, that's not what I said. What I said was our end of it is on the levy side where we start to do the budget and we're just starting to work on that. That goes along with the valuation. And I said, we will be working hard to take a good look at that budget to do anything we can to reduce it. Suggestions? We will be reviewing each department as it comes through. It's a process that goes over a number of months. I don't have those answers for you at this time.
I just have one question that you asked for the answer, is there's the assessment and then there's the levy. We got our assessment and they all went up crazy and our property taxes increased like crazy. Does that mean the levy went up that much or there is a huge budget surplus? Because we both paid what was supposed to be done.
So to paraphrase again, your assessments went up and you said your taxes also went up. So is there going to be a windfall of money? To answer that, when you look at that valuation sheet that you received, in the top right-hand corner, it says step 1. So 2022 value will eventually be used to calculate the 23 tax. In November, we're going to have a discussion of the proposed levy for the 23 tax year. In April of 23, you will receive your 2023 tax statement. We don't know what the taxes are. It happens that your value statement for 2022 pay 23 gets mailed at approximately the same time your tax statement for 22 does. So the entire process, we're looking at about 54 weeks. So there's a little overlap, but the assessor's office starts it. The commissioners have step 2. The auditors send step 3. Unfortunately, step 3 and step 1 occur very close. So in a calendar year, you're going to get 2 statements from the county almost back to back, but they are for totally different years. So again, the tax statement received has nothing to do with the valuation statement in your hand. Yes, sir.
I'd like the commissioners to address this. Our valuations have gone up. Have you ever considered what else is going up with it? These insurance companies will see these valuations going up. Our insurance values are going up. Our fire contracts are going up based on this valuation. Where's it going to end pretty soon? And I'm a township official and I got to answer my constituents. Why? I can tell them, one, it's the valuation that's out there for the fire contract. 2, our fuel prices have skyrocketed. We've got a budget to operate our equipment within the township. We've got to put a lid on this pretty soon. And let's start here at county level. You know, one of the things we hear in the county, or people coming into the county or want to come into the county, do we have internet? Reliable, high-speed internet. We don't. Where's the budget for that? We've played with this for over 10 years. You did a $10 million study over 10 years ago for this internet. We're not any further now than we were 10 years ago. Yes, and it cost us $10 million. Now, as elected officials, I'd like to hear from each one of you why. Wadena County is one of the poorest counties in the state too, and they've got 98% coverage up there. Why is Todd County lacking so bad?
Let me take that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wadena County has a tele company that did all that. And Todd County has 6 telephone companies in the county, and you can't go across lines. They won't go across lines.
Well, why as commissioners get them together and get them to work together?
Well, we've been trying, but you can't get them.
I've been to meetings. We're trying.
Yeah.
But why can't we go?
And I want to correct you on one thing. We didn't spend $10 million. We spent $10,000. And we got that as a grant. Well, it was from. We all pay for grants, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
You know, these evaluations are all right, but you gotta look at everything that's gonna raise. It's gonna raise our insurances, it's raising our fire contracts. It's gotta be on someplace, guys.
Okay, I think, all right, we'll take one more, Dwayne, and then we're gonna.
Wayne, you want to build things up so that they need you. I said, that's the truth. He said, don't. Then I had it, because of the county commissioner, forced me to interview one of his employees that he wanted to get rid of. And I asked her, I told her what duties and so forth, and she wanted the job at private firm. She said, I won't mention the department. She said, right now, I only have one duty. And that's to give out certain rebates or whatever it is that I can tell you. I can't believe, I said, what do you do the other times? I said, you don't do that all day long. No, but I need a book. So I don't think you guys really know about what's going on with some of the departments. And I would guess this is 25 years ago, maybe it's gotten worse. I can see it in the federal government, I can see it in the state government. So I'm just letting you know, take a look at things. I don't think you really get you to do the department the way you should.
Okay, thank you, Dwayne. I'm gonna kind of put an end to questions. I think we've kind of covered any of the topics that we can possibly cover in answering questions in regards to the valuations. I am gonna give it a open time for the commissioners to comment. I certainly appreciate you all coming. I appreciate your courtesy today. And I'm gonna open it up to commissioners or whoever else would like to comment.
I just want to thank all you guys for coming today. Expressing your concerns. I have a concern also. Mine went up 30% to 32%. When I got my valuations, the first thing I did, I got them on a Saturday. The first thing I did Monday morning was get a hold of our representatives down at the state. Said, we got a problem. I had Chris do a pie, and I do like pie charts, so. Residential pays 42.9% of the valuation of Todd County. Ag is 35%. Seasonal recreation is 13.7%. Commercial industrial, where we are really lacking on, 8.4%. And out of that total value, 7.8% do not pay property taxes. So that 7.8%, just remember, all of us are picking that up, so. But thank you.
No.
I can speak to that if, so what are the exempt properties, to paraphrase your question? Schools, the building we're in now, parks, boat launches,
religious,
public facilities.
Some of our buildings that are tip.
What?
Oh, TIF type districts,
Yeah.
reduced.
Their TIF projects are included in the total tax bill. And then their tax or a portion of their tax is paid back by the local jurisdiction, not the county, but typically the city.
Anyone else?
I guess I would like to address the crowd also and tell you thank you. I feel this was a very good listening session for all of us, a learning session. As far as the levy goes, a few years back, we started a finance committee to go through our budget, and so is the chair and vice chair that sits on that committee. So I sat on it past 2 prior years. We go through the levy with a fine comb, I believe. We have every department head come in front of us. It takes a lot of time. We go line through line and try to do the best job we can. So as far as the levy goes, we do spend a lot of time on it, a lot of time with department heads. So, yeah, it's something that we do work on very deliberately, I would say. So, yeah. Very concerned with your concerns. And I too, as a property owner, have the same questions. So thank you. The only thing I could say, I apologize, you guys did not have a microphone and that we could not hear the questions probably as good as we should have heard them. Else?
All right. I also like to thank our state representative from the assessors region here for being up here and helping answer questions too. So thank you very much for attending.
For having me.
Otherwise, I think at this point, we will